Hello, welcome to our recorded discussion. So, we are now in week 8 and 9. So, this is our learning objectives. Identify and understand the French benefit tax, learn and analyze the computation of French benefit tax, and comprehend and understand the tax administration remedies and the power of BIR and Commissioner. So, in this discussion, I will discuss letter A and letter B, regarding French benefit tax. So first is you need to familiarize with the meta language, the definition and terms of this discussion. So we have the French benefit, which refers to any good or services or other benefit furnished or granted by an employer in cash or in kind. So this is in addition to basic salaries to an individual employees except for rank and file employees. Okay? And then we have also the rank and file. So you need to know the category of the employees. So we have rank and file and the supervisory and managerial employees. So when we say rank and file, these are employees who are not holding a managerial or supervisory position. While for supervisory employees, those employees who have the interest of employer and then recommend no such managerial actions and have authority, no. They are not routinary or clerical in nature, but requires the use of independent judgment. And we have also managerial employees who have the power, who have vested with powers or prerogatives to lay down and execute management policies and hire, transfer, suspend, lay off, recall, discharge, assign, or discipline employees. Okay, so familiarize those. We have also de minimis benefit. It refers to facilities and privileges of relatively small value, such as entertainment, medical services, or so-called courtesy discounts or purchases granted or offered by an employer to employees as a means of promoting the health, goodwill, contentment, or efficiency of his or her employee. So take note, we discussed this already in our previous discussion in our first examination topic. So please look them also, no. So we have also the gross up tax, the monetary value or the amount of French benefit realized or taken home by the employee is effectively not net of the final tax, which is to be withheld at source. We have also the tax assessment and tax deficiency. Tax assessment refers to the valuation and appraisal of the subject of taxation. It is an official action of an officer authorized by law to determine the amount of tax due, including surcharges, penalties, and interest. So, this definition refers on the unit learning outcome letter C regarding the tax administration, the BIR, no, administration. We have also tax deficiency. It refers to the amount of tax levied more than what the taxpayer paid as shown in the tax return. And then we have deficiency assessment, fraud assessment, what else? Distraint of personal property, levy of real property, civil action, criminal action, and what else? Seizure of property, forfeiture of the property. So again, this is part of the unit learning outcome number 3. So let us discuss na lang po, no, para at least later when we will go to the learning outcome number 3, hindi na natin siya i-discuss. Okay. When we say deficiency assessment, refers to an assessment made after the examination. There is deficiency nga na found, no, by the independent investigation of the revenue officer. Then we have also fraud assessment. Assessment arising from false or fraudulent filing determined by the revenue officer during the conduct of tax examination and evaluation of the taxpayer's record. Then we have distraint of personal property, seizure of personal property, tangible or intangible, by the government to effect collection of tax, including penalties. So, pwede pala, no, kukunin yung personal property ng taxpayer by the government because of siguro mga efficiency assessment and also fraud assessment. So, pwede siya, no, collection of taxes, including penalties. Levy of real property refers to the seizure of real property. Yung seizure, distraint, personal, while levy is real, okay? Civil action refers to the judicial proceeding undertaken to enforce protection of the private rights and individuals. We have also criminal actions, refers to the judicial proceeding undertaken to institute punishment for violation of criminal laws. Seizure of the property, kukunin yung property, no? Just to satisfy the tax liabilities, and any excess will be returned to the owner of the property. And we have also forfeiture of the property, refers to forfeiture that is tantamount to confiscation of the property, and ownership is transferred to the government. Okay, again, so look on this meta language. This will help you on learning about our 3 unit learning outcomes, A, B, and C. Okay, so let's now begin to learning outcome letter A, which is French benefits. This was discussed in our previous lesson, no, but not on detailed. So now we will discuss it on detailed way. So parang in our previous discussion, it's more on summarize siguro, no, but this one is ano na talaga, computation, etc. So when we say French benefit, this FBT, French benefit tax. This is a final withholding tax, no, imposed on the gross up monetary value. Gross up meaning gross amount of the French benefit furnished, granted, or paid by the employer to managerial or supervisory employees. So take note of this. So mga supervisory or managerial employees, they have French benefit tax. Whether such employer is an individual, professional partnership, or corporation, regardless of whether the corporation is taxable or not, or the government and its instrumentalities under Section 33 of RA 8424 or RR number 3-98. Okay, what is French benefit? It means any good, service, or other benefit furnished or granted by an employer in cash or in kind in addition to basic salaries. So take note, in addition to the basic salaries to an individual employee except for rank and file. So ano ba yung mga sa rank and file? So remember katong in our individual income tax, di ba? Sa rank and file, meron tayong mga additional or other benefits, di ba? So i-add on siya sa ating compensation income. Meron tayong limit until 90,000 yung 13-month and other benefits, they are tax exempt, and excess of it part na sa ating compensation tax. Okay. So this one is for managerial. So take note, managerial and supervisory. Okay, so let's go. French benefits such as but not limited to. We have an acronym here. So ito yung mga French benefit natin. Look on our acronym. Have, him, health. Okay. Have, him, health. Okay. So what are these have, him, health? So we have housing, expense account, vehicle of any kind, household personnel such as maid, driver, and others. So this is for managerial employee, interest on loan at less than market rate to the extent of the difference between the market rate and the actual rate granted. We have also the membership fees, the dues, and other expenses borne by the employer for the employee in social and athletic clubs or other similar organization. We have holiday and vacation expenses, educational assistance to the employee or his dependents, and life or health insurance and other non-life insurance premium or similar amounts in excess of what the law allows, and expenses for foreign travel. So these are the French benefit. Acronym is have, him, and health. So you need to familiarize with that acronyms and take note. This is only for the managerial employees. Okay? Now, let's go to this one. Okay? This is the classification under French benefits. We have the rank and file, and we have also the managerial supervisory. So for rank and file, this is part of the gross taxable income subject to scheduler tax rate, yung mga excess to 90,000. But for managerial, they are not part of the gross taxable income but subject to the French benefit tax. Okay? So the following French benefits are not Ito yung mga hindi subject for final French benefit tax. So, we have housing privilege of military officials of the armed forces of the Philippines. So, dili siya part. And then, we have also the housing unit which is situated inside or adjacent within 50 meters from the perimeter of the business premises to the premises of a business or factory. So they are not subject. Basta within 50 meters. Temporary housing for an employee who stays in housing unit for 3 months or less. Dili po siya subject. 3 months or less. Expenses incurred by an employee which are paid by the employer and expenses paid for by the employee but reimbursed by his employer. Anong ibig sabihin nito? Expenses incurred. Na-incurred ng employee but paid by the employer. Okay? Then expenses po paid by the employee but reimbursed by the employer provided the expenditures are duly receipted and or in the name of the employer and it does not partake the nature of personal expense attributable to the employee. So meaning ito yung related sa business, no? Number 5, representation and transportation allowances which are fixed in amounts and are regularly received by the employees as part of their monthly compensation. They are subject to basic tax. Inland travel expenses such as expenses for food, beverages, and local transportation during foreign travel. Dili po siya, no? They are not subject to FBT. Lodging costs in hotel amounting to the average of $300. Pila man ang $300? So, we have 15,000, no? Per day during foreign travel, cost of economy and business class airplane ticket for foreign travel, 70% of the cost of first class airplane ticket for foreign travel, educational assistance to the employee provided the education or study is directly connected with the employer's trade, business, or profession, and there is written contract between them that the employee is under obligation to remain in the employ or of the employer for a period of time they have mutually agreed upon. Educational assistance to the dependents of the employee. Take note, hindi subject for the final French benefit tax, provided that assistance was provided through a competitive scheme under the scholarship program of the company. What else? Contribution of the employer for the benefit of the employee pursuant to the provision of existing law, such as under SSS, GSIS, or similar contributions arising from provision of any other existing law. The cost of premiums borne by the employer for the group insurance of his employees, French benefits which are authorized and exempted from income tax under the tax code or under any special law. So, dili siya subject for final French benefit tax. Contribution of the employer for the benefit of the employee to retirement, insurance, hospitalization benefit plans. Indeed, then, benefits given to the rank and file. The French benefit is required by the nature or necessary to the trade, business, or profession of the employer, or when the French benefit is for the convenience or advantage of the employer. And another is the de minimis benefits, or recall yung mga de minimis benefit natin, ha? In your second exam, no? Mga exempt from compensation income. Okay. So those are not subject for final for French benefit tax. So we have 19. So let's recall first our de minimis benefit. Dili po ni siya subject for French benefit tax, no? And they are also exempt from compensation income tax. So ano ba yung mga taxable? Okay. Okay, ito yung mga de minimis benefit. In excess of it, over na the limit, taxable na siya, ha? So, anyway, na-discuss na natin ito last time. So, let's recall na lang, okay? So, ano ba yung mga de minimis benefit na not taxable? Ang excess ini, taxable na, no? Part of, if it's rank and file, katong part of other income na siya. But if it is for managerial, mag-iba na ulit. Okay. Monetize unused vacation leave. Credits to private employees not exceeding 10 days. So, excess of it, taxable na. Monetize unused vacation na sick leave credits paid to government officials and employees. So, walang limit sa government officials, no? Medical cash allowance to dependents of employees not exceeding 1,500 per employee or 250 per month. medical cash allowance. Rice subsidy, 2,000 pesos or 1 sack of 50 kilogram rice. Not more than 2,000. So, limit natin 2,000. Excess of it, taxable. Uniform and clothing allowance. This is the latest masiguro nino, 6,000. Actual medical benefits not exceeding 10,000 per annum. Laundry allowance, 300 per month, de minimis na. So, excess of it, taxable. Employee achievement awards for length of service, safety achievement, basta yung value is not exceeding 10,000 yung limit natin, okay? And received by the employee under an established written plan which does not discriminate in favor of highly paid employees. What else? Gifts during Christmas, 5,000 per employee per annum. Daily meal allowance for overtime work not exceeding 25%. So hanggang 25% lang of basic minimum wage. Benefits received by the employee by virtue of a collective bargaining agreement and productivity incentive schemes to provide that the total annual monetary value received from both CBA and productivity incentive schemes combined do not exceed 10,000 per employee per taxable month. So, ano ang treatment? Okay, pareha, balik sa original. For rank and file, other compensation income. Okay? So, meron din tayong limit for rank and file hanggang 90,000 only. And then, ang excess part of the taxable na siya. Katong mga excess so take note, de minimis, dili siya taxable. Excess sa mga de minimis, katong mga over na ato, part of other compensation income, pero ma-subject na po siya sa limit nga rule nga 90,000. Kung excess na po ma-taxable na siya. Ha? So, balik na po atong mga individual income taxation. While for managerial and supervisory, they are subject for final French benefit tax. So, our formula for French benefit tax, so based tayo sa gross up monetary value times the rate. Yung gross up monetary value natin, this is our formula. Monetary value divided by the GM factor, which is equal to 100% minus the FBT rate. Okay? Sige, tingnan natin ito ha. So, medyo confusing ito, no? Sa gross up monetary value. Pero later, makikita natin ito. Pero kinidali lang, no? Kinilang gross up monetary value. How to compute the gross up monetary value. Kasi yung monetary value natin plus the FBT. Kasi ang uban mang good, gina-net na. Okay lang kung wala pang net. Wala pang net nga kuan, wala pa gi-withheld. Muna to ang gross up monetary value. Pero kung ginet na, so monetary value plus the FBT. Okay? Okay. So in general, the valuation of French benefit shall be as follows. So if the kind of French benefit is money, the amount of money ang valuation natin. If it is non-cash property and ownership is transferred based sa fair market value or the zonal value, whichever is higher. But if it is a non-cash property and ownership is not transferred based on the depreciation value of the property. So take note na, if the ownership is transferred, market value whichever is higher or zonal value. But if there is no transfer of ownership, depreciation value. So meaning cost minus the accumulated depreciation. But there are exemptions, no? Kinds of French benefit. If employer leases a residential property for the use of the employee, yung valuation natin is the rental paid times 50%. Okay? If the employer purchased residential property and transfer ownership in the name of the employee, no? Employer purchased residential property, transfer the ownership in the name of the employee, kasi na-transfer, no? Whichever is higher. If the employer owns the residential property and the same is assigned to the use of his employer, market value and zonal value, whichever has higher, times 2.5. If the employer purchases a residential property and transfer the ownership to his employee at a price less than the acquisition cost, whichever is higher, minus cost to the employee. Kasi nagbayad man gud, no? Nag-purchase siya for less than the acquisition cost. So, ima-minus yung cost to the employee. Next, if the employer purchases a residential property on installment basis and allows the employee to use the same acquisition cost times 2.5, the acquisition cost should be net of interest. If motor vehicle, ang daming i-memorize, you need to familiarize with this, no? Employer purchase motor vehicle in the name of the employee, the acquisition cost. Employer shoulder the portion of the amount of the purchase price of the motor vehicle, merong amount, which is placed in the name of the employee, the amount shouldered by the employer, ang ating French gross up monetary value. If the employer provide cash for the purchase of a motor vehicle, the cash given. If the employer owns and maintains a fleet of motor vehicle for the use of the business and the employees, the acquisition cost of all motor vehicles for personal use divided by 5 years. Kasi gipa-use ng manggod ni employer. So, acquisition cost divided by 5. Next, if the employer purchases the car on installment basis, the ownership of which is placed in the name of the employee, acquisition cost divided by 5. If the employer leases and maintains a fleet of motor vehicle for the use of the business and the employees, rental payments of all vehicle for personal use times 50%. And then for the interest, if the employer lends money to his employee free of interest, principal times 12%. If the employer lends money to his employer at a rate lower than 12%, principal times 12% minus actual rate. Kasi ito isa free for interest 12%. Kung na-ay interest lower than 12, i-minus yung actual rate. So this is our tax rates for resident, citizen, non-resident citizen, overseas, no, worker, resident alien, non-resident alien engaged in trade and business. In 2018, 35%. Prior 2018, 32%. So ngayon, more than naman part of 2018. 2020, 35% pa. Okay? So I think we start with this.